Hello, and welcome back to First Recapped. Today's recap features a 2014 American psychological thriller movie called as Nightcrawler. It is about an amateur cameraman who parlays his eye and nerve into a successful small business, deceiving, manipulating, and exploiting everyone in his way. Be aware of spoilers ahead. The story opens at night overlooking Los Angeles. Someone is cutting a fence wire when a security guard drives up. Here we see a man called Lewis start talking with the security guard and suddenly attack him, stealing his watch and driving off. Afterward, Lewis takes the fence wire and other metal things to a scrapyard to sell them. He then tries to get a job at the yard, but the foreman tells him he does not hire thieves. As Lewis is driving along a highway, he sees a crashed car, and two police officers are trying to help a woman inside. Just then, two reporters named Joe and Marcus rushed to the scene to film. During the accident, Lewis watched the proceedings and asked Joe if he needed to hire anyone. Joe declined and then calls Marcus to go to another emergency. The following day we see Lewis in his apartment watching TV and scouring the news channels until he finds the report of last night's car crash, where he saw the two reporters filming. Lewis goes to the beach, steals a racing bicycle, and takes it to a pawn shop, where he exchanges it for a camcorder and police radio scanner. Now it's nighttime, and Lewis is parked in his car listening to the police station dispatcher calls. Finally, after getting a call, he drives there to film the scene. Although the police tell him to get out of the vicinity, he finds the same response from other people. Whenever he gets too close to them, the police tell him and another cameraman to get back. Lewis takes his video footage to a local news station and shows it to the news editor, Nina, and her assistant, Frank. Nina then pays him $250 for his footage. The next day he watches the news report, which shows his video footage. Curious, he looks up the meanings of the police call codes and makes notes to study them. Here, we see Lewis sitting in a fast food restaurant, which is soon joined by a young man called Rick. After a short conversation, Lewis hires him as an assistant. That night they head out together with Rick. Here, you see Lewis drives the car so fast that even Rick gets very nervous. Lewis enters the house from another door and starts taking videos and pictures. Lewis brings his footage to Nina. Nina got impressed with Lewis's work and Rick continued night after night pursuing police calls and shooting videos from the scene. Now we see Lewis and Rick getting petrol on Lewis's new car. They arrive at a crash scene, and Lewis is seen moving the body of a victim, so he can get a better video shot. As the police and other news film crew arrive, Lewis hurried away. The following day, Lewis stands next to Nina in the TV studio. As they were about to read the morning news, he asked her if she would like to have dinner with him first. She declines, but she is not quite sure. However, outside the studio, Joe is waiting for him. He offers Lewis a job taking control of his second news film. Lewis tells him he's not interested despite Joe trying to persuade him. In the end, Joe walks off angrily. Now we see Nina and Lewis sitting in a Mexican restaurant together, and Lewis is complimenting Nina on her good looks. Finally, after some serious conversation, he makes it clear that he wants to be more than friends with her. The scene is cut to the following night. Lewis and Rick are driving to a hit-and-run accident when a report of a small plane crash comes on the radio. Upon reaching the place, they found they were too late, and Joe had already filmed the scene. Lewis goes to Nina, but she is pissed because he did not get the plane crash video. In Jake's apartment, the news report with Joe's video is playing on the TV while Jake is in the bathroom screaming at his reflection. He hits the cabinet and breaks the mirror to vent his anger. The following day, we find Lewis underneath Joe's news van doing some handiwork. He slides out and quietly walks away. That night they are on their way to the scene of a one-vehicle accident, which happens to be Joe's van that has crushed head-on into a power pole. As the ambulance crew is working, Lewis is filming the whole scene. We see Joe looking up at Lewis with a strange look in his eyes. As they are driving down the road, they get a call on the police scanner of a home invasion. So, they speed to it and arrive before the police. Lewis jumps out with his cam recorder and runs up the driveway as Lewis gets close to the house. He hears gunshots from inside the house when two men run out. He hides in the bushes and films the two men running out, getting into a black SUV car and drive away. Once they are gone, Lewis goes over to the house with the video camera. He films a shotgun outside and then enters the house to find a woman shot dead on the sofa. He quickly makes his way to the staircase, following a trail of blood upstairs. He enters the baby's room, but the cot is empty. He moves through the upstairs rooms to find a woman's body lying dead on a bed. Before he runs back downstairs, moving into the kitchen, he hears a man coughing and finds the man lying face down in a pool of blood. Now, he runs to the front door to see that Rick has come looking for him. Together, they run back down the driveway to their car with the sound of police sirens coming closer. They drive off just as a police car is approaching. Once they are back in town, Lewis stops and tells Rick to stay in the car while he goes to the rear of the car and edits the footage. Nina and her staff watched the video in shock. Once alone, Nina and Lewis negotiate a price for the footage, and things get serious. Lewis tells Nina that if he does not get what he wants, he will take it to another news station that will pay him more. He wants the station staff to tell them he is the owner and president of his new company's video production news. Now we see Nina introducing him to all the staff, and shortly after, they are in the production room. The news show starts and shows the graphic images Lewis filmed, and the following day Lewis is watching all of the TV stations reporting the same story from last night. Upon hearing a knock at the door, we see a female detective, Frontier, and a male detective, Lieberman. They question Lewis about the triple murder he had filmed that night. He tells them that he saw the two men driving off in an SUV as he arrived, but did not mention that he got a good video of them and their SUV. Detective Frontier suspects that Lewis is not telling them everything. Lewis tells her he entered the house to see if he could provide some help. He gives them a copy of the edited video and they left. Now Lewis is doing some investigation of his own. He watches the unedited version of the video and gets a better look at the two men. Then he zooms in and gets the license number of the SUV and does an online search to find the address of the SUV owner. Early that evening, Lewis picks up Rick and tells him he found the SUV owner's address and plans to go head there so they can follow the SUV to capture another scene. Rick is very reluctant and thinks that Lewis should call the police immediately, but Lewis has other ideas. They go to the address and park the car close by to wait. Meanwhile, Lewis tells Rick that there is a $50,000 reward. He tells Ricky to film the police as they arrive while they make an arrest or a possible shootout. Rick says he wants half the reward, but Lewis is not keen on that. That's until Rick tells him that the police would be interested in why Lewis did not call them earlier. Lewis accepts the deal 50-50 on what they make. After a long wait, one of the men comes out and drives off with Lewis and Rick following behind. The man picks up his friend and then, after getting some petrol, they go to a fast food store to eat. Lewis and Rick park across the road, and Lewis calls to report that he thinks he has found the two men who murdered the three people in the house. After the call to the police, Lewis turns on the police scanner to listen to the report of his call. Lewis tells Rick to take his camera and film from further down the street. Rick objects, but when Lewis threatens him, he reluctantly agrees as they start filming. Then a police car arrives. The two policemen enter the restaurant and go to order some food. Lewis sees one of the men holding a gun under the table. Just then, another police car arrives, and as the two policemen enter the restaurant, the two men start shooting. One policeman was shot, while the two men were also wounded. One of them manages to escape in the SUV while the police is giving chase. Lewis follows the police car. They go through a red light, barely missing the other traffic, but at the next intersection with the red light, the police car gets hit. Simultaneously, Lewis keeps following the man in his car when another police car appears in front of the SUV. The SUV crashes onto the police car, causing it to hit a pole and flips onto its side. Lewis comes to a screeching halt and jumps out to start filming. Lewis tells Rick to film the dead man in the SUV, but as Rick approaches, the man inside is not dead, and he shoots Rick 4 times. Rick drops to the ground, fatally wounded. The man kicks out the windscreen and stands looking at Lewis, who is still filming. Then as he walks away, another police car arrives, and they shoot the man dead. More police cars arrive, and Lewis walks over to Rick, still filming the video. As Rick lies there dying, Rick asks Lewis why he did not tell him when he knows the man is alive. Lewis calmly says that he did not want to lose a good video that is ruthless. Lewis takes Rick's video camera and leaves. We see Lewis showing Nina the video footage of the crime scene, but the video is cut before Rick speaks. As they are about to air the footage, Frontier and Lieberman arrive and ask for the crime scene investigation video footage. Nina tells them that it is the property of KWLA, and they will put it on the show. Frank pulls Nina aside and tells her that they got word from someone called Joel, who told the police task force that there were over 50 pounds of cocaine found hidden at the murder scene. So, it was a drug robbery. She tells them they can report it later, but they are sticking to the original story of a home invasion. Frank cannot believe that she is starting to sound like Lewis, cold and unemotional at the police station. Here, we see Frontier interviewing Lewis about the facts of his previous police report. He tells her how the two men in the SUV had been following him, and when he saw them enter the restaurant, he called the police. Frontier knows he is lying, but she can't prove it. She was disgusted to find that he had filmed his partner dying. She walks out of the interview room and leaves him alone. Lewis then calmly walks away from the police station. In the final scene, we see Lewis talking to his 3 new employees as they stand next to his 2 new video production news vans as he gives them a pep talk. Then they climb into their vans and drive off into the night. Wow, what an interesting movie. What are your thoughts about it? Like and subscribe for more awesome videos like this. See you all in the next one.